Get out
with Mari and I.
I'm officially in.
You are.
Yay!
I signed a waiver.
So exciting! So exciting! Yes. Welcome back, guys. This is our first interview, and what is so exciting about this is we're eventually going to have a name for this. Like the PS episodes that we have, which are for subscribers only, and the interviews are for subscribers only. We're eventually going to have names for the interviews. We just kind of thought about it 5 minutes before Justin got on, so we're like trying to work that out. So if you have ideas when this airs, please DM us, let us know. But yeah, this is so exciting.
I honestly think what I'm excited about is the fact that we have a man on the show, right? Yeah. Like I know that dudes listen to us, but they're not as like, I don't know,
vocal,
yeah, about listening to us, right? Yeah. Like they'll give us feedback occasionally, but to have like an actual dude on the show, I think is pretty dope. So that's exciting to me.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, I found Justin because I think I was just scrolling and I saw this sweatshirt and it said, "My therapist is my homie." And I was like, what the fuck? I'm so down for that. Like, yeah, that's amazing. Yes. And I commented on it and then we just started talking. And then we were like, let's do this. Like, let's collaborate. So this is really exciting. He has a clothing line and there's all different mental health quotes, which I just think is amazing because he is trying to end the stigma of mental health, which we are all trying to do.
Definitely. Yeah. My therapist is my homie. That's where it all started.
I love
that. I love that you're wearing your shirt too. So let's talk a little bit about My Therapist is My Homie. Where did that come from?
It came between a conversation with some friends. We were just reflecting on our going to therapy, and we were talking about what we were learning. And I was talking about a couple of my sessions, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, you and your therapist pretty tight. Like, I was like, yeah, like that's how I feel like isn't that how it's supposed to be?
Sure.
Like, yeah, it's like, and then I was like, yeah, she texts me probably like once or twice a week, and I was like, oh wow, like guys are friends. It's like, yeah, it's my homie. And
that is so cool.
And that this became was like, I was like, it has a little ring to it, and then I kept saying my therapist, my homie, but I didn't know what to do with it. And
sure.
I was like, what am I going to do with this? So originally I was just like, oh, I'm going to come up with an Instagram and put quotes up. And but then I didn't want to be part of the 100,000 other pages that are like that. And I was like, what can we do different? And my birthday was coming up and I was like, I want to launch something for my birthday. And I am a graphic designer myself. So I started playing with the logo and it's like, oh, cool. This will look cool on a t-shirt. And I'm like, all right, let's sell t-shirts. But why am I like, I'm not trying to sell t-shirts for profit.
Sure.
I wanted to figure out what can I do with what I'm selling t-shirts for? So like, where can I donate it? It was November then. So I started thinking about November and then I was like, but there needs to be a little bit more than that. So came up with 3 different organizations to donate to regularly. And then definitely added on other ones. So the first design coming up with was the My Therapist, My Homie being basically the staple of it. And then 2 following that was another design called Misunderstood. And the third one was Tomorrow Needs You. And these were just 3 different designs, 3 different stories behind them. So it's mainly My Therapist, My Homie, obviously the main one just being for the reason for it. Misunderstood, the idea was, all right, you can say you're misunderstood, but it's really kind of like, what do you mean by that? So right. I didn't want to just put the word misunderstood on a shirt. So I kind of played with the little equation part and did miss under the word stood. And then last one was Tomorrow Needs You. And definitely just wanted that to be more of like something that brightens someone's day, no matter what, even if it's something, sometimes you look in the mirror, you need something to brighten yourself up. So, and that's where those 3 designs came from. Those aren't going to be the last 3 designs. It was just the first 3. So there's going to be a lot more coming up. I kind of wanted to play the waters first, see how the response was. The response was great. Within the first couple weeks, I think it was within the first week and a half, we already raised about $500-600.
That's amazing.
Right now I'm at last numbers I checked were about like 12 or 1300. So
that's incredible, dude.
Yes.
That is so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that I've seen it blow up, and I think some people get misconstrued with numbers, right? You see numbers on Instagram, it's like, oh, hey, like right now, I believe my page alone's at 70 followers. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not the most popular page right now, but that's not really what I'm reflecting on now. I'm reflecting on the actual sale numbers and everything like that. So
absolutely. I think that society plays such a huge role in that, right? Of like social media is like what we all grew up with. How old are you, Justin?
I just turned 31. So.
Hey, 30s club. So I think
grandma.
that
I gotta go to bed soon, guys. So
get the Metamucil.
I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. I'm drinking tea on a Friday night. So
I literally was going to comment on that. I was like,
so
a man who cares about mental health and tea? What?
So I actually this is like my other slogan. It's tequila or water.
Oh, I love that.
So it's usually my two things drinking, but if it's not tequila or water, it's tea. So
that's awesome.
Spicy water. That's all.
Spicy water. Yes.
Yeah. I love the fact that you aren't like controlled by those numbers, right? Like I was saying, society plays such a huge role, and like all of us growing up in that kind of social media era of like, well, the more followers, the more people, the exposure, all of this, it's easy to get caught up in that. I even get caught up in that with the podcast page and my page of like wanting to gain more traction and wanting to reach more people. But realistically, it matters about the content that you're putting out and like what's coming from the heart and what's going to reach people versus the amount of people, right?
Yep. I think the one thing, it's like I can have 1 million followers, right? And have no substance on the page at all.
Yeah. Right.
Or I can have 10 followers, and if I change one person out of 10 followers a day, then my page was successful.
Absolutely. Also, I just want to touch on the fact that like you and your friends were talking about going to therapy.
Yes.
That's fucking amazing. That's amazing.
Growth, health.
Yes.
Well, I would definitely say, that's another reason why my therapist, my homie, was because one thing that I felt was a lot of my friends in general, and I know you and I chat a little bit more about like the men's side of it, right? And it's like we're usually not that confident of telling people that we're going to therapy.
That's exactly right.
It's like, I'm going to therapy. Usually you say therapy, even if it's mental health, physical, anything like that, that means there's something wrong with you.
That's people's assumption, right? Is that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're like, there's something wrong with me. And you don't want to say that. You don't want to tell them I'm going to therapy. And when I started talking to my friends, it was like, oh yeah, I see mine every Thursday.
That's awesome.
It's like, oh, you do? Cool. How's that going? And then it starts opening a different type of conversation.
Yes.
It's changed from your usual just talk about sports to, hey, how are you doing today? What's going on with you? And then one of the I guess big podcasts I used to watch a lot was I Am Athlete. And it was they used to always do a thing every day. Every show was a mental health check-in. And it was it's like, just give me a number 1 through 10. And me and my friends started doing that ourselves. Like, all right, before we talk, how are you doing today? 1 through 10. I love that. And started taking that and being more comfortable with the conversation. So
I love that. What's been the most important piece of information, or that like the biggest piece that you've taken away from being in therapy thus far?
I think being open, but also acceptance. One thing that it's funny when I do speak to my therapist, she says this all the time, which is keep your expectations low. And then she's like, I shouldn't be saying that to you. At the same time, it's like, you should expect more. And it took me a while to understand what she was saying. And the last time I spoke to her, we were speaking about some things, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not really expecting much out of it because I don't want to deter how I'm feeling. And it's one of the big things, no matter what, even if it's something small as it's going to pick up a local meal or something, it's like, you put that expectation really high, you're going to allow that to control how you feel for that day. And that's one thing that I did take out of it a lot. I'm a big sports fan. So every Sunday I'm watching my Eagles. So I knew that.
Mari's a Packer fan.
Here we go. I was going to ask, but gee, how the God.
Well, I mean, as a Packer fan, your expectations are always high. But,
Always. But hey, we went through our drought. We went through our drought. We served our time.
And as a Bear fan, my
No!
So like
it was the anniversary of the double doink yesterday. So
I mean,
Steph, your expectations are out the fucking window being a Bears fan.
here's the thing though. So Mari is an avid football fan. I'm a baseball girl.
Yes.
So like my Cubs are my life. Like that's
got it.
And I can die a happy woman because they won in 2016.
And here's the thing. We're working on Stephanie being as supportive for the Packers as I was for the Cubs. Okay, because I was like, you know what? I feel like I fell back in love with baseball. I love baseball. I do. I like watching it, but like I was kind of like, okay, like Brewers haven't done anything. Like we love them, God love them, but like haven't done anything. We're used to disappointment here in Wisconsin. Just recently, we started coming on the up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're this year, Stephanie. This year, and I'm using your full name so you fucking understand. When we go to the Super Bowl, you will absolutely show up for us. Okay. I didn't ask you to wear a shirt. I didn't ask you to wear a jersey. I'm just asking you to show up.
That sounds like it's going to be an ongoing conversation for next.
Oh, it will be.
It has been for 7 years.
I am persuasive, Justin. I am persuasive. I will win. When I find something I want, I get it. So don't you worry.
Goodness.
Got it. Noted.
So if one of your friends said to you, Justin, like, hey, I'm thinking about going to therapy, but I'm nervous or I don't know what to expect, like what would you tell them? What sort of advice would you give to them?
I'll definitely tell them to be yourself, really. Right? Don't be nervous. But I think one of the first steps is picking the right therapist, right?
Yes.
I can Google therapist near me and get 1,000 things.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go into the whole other aspect, which is what can you afford?
Yep.
Like that. So it's definitely, there's a lot of factors played into it, but definitely it would be don't put all your marbles in one basket when you go to your therapist, right? I don't think that because that therapist you met made you feel a certain way does not mean that that's what every therapist is like. Just probably not the right connection for you. And
Sure.
I know myself when I was trying to find the right therapist, couple questionnaires, a lot of back and forth, and I actually went through 3 therapists before I got comfortable with my current homie, and that's where like even now it's crazy because originally I was like I want a male, I wanted to speak to a male, and now I'm my third therapist, been seeing her for over a year, and it's like I didn't understand why I wanted it. I just felt like I felt more comfortable talking to him. Like, no,
that's what I was gonna say.
really.
Do you think it was like less intimidating to talk to a man versus a woman, maybe initially?
And initially, yes, it's more. I was looking at it more of I guess just like bond more, right?
Being able
bond
to relate,
more.
sure.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, you've been through this before, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like even my therapist alone, like her and I grew up different lifestyles, like it's you would think like, we're not going to connect, and it's like, and it's not necessarily sometimes really about the connection, because even sometimes when I'm talking to her, she's like, oh wow, like it's
Sure.
like, am I your therapist now? So and that becomes to be refreshing as well, and it's like, oh, like, hey, I thought about what you said last week, and that was great thing you brought up. So
that's one of my favorite things as a therapist, when a client says like, hey, I was in this situation and I thought about what you said before. And it's like, that's when you know they're listening, right? Like they're internalizing the information, even if there's times where it feels like they're not, right? Or they're not at a place to hear it in that moment. Your voice is still with them, right? Is that kind of the experience you have, is like her voice kind of plays into things sometimes?
Yep. It's always, sometimes it can be the yelling voice, or it can be the nice calm voice. But,
Sure.
It was actually the last time I saw her, she said something that sounded like lay down, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, huh? She's like, huh? And she's like no, she's like, how are you doing? I'm like, where did I hear this from? And I'm like, are we in the movies now? Like,
oh my God.
What I really, really love, Justin, is that response of find your person. Like, you have to find the person that resonates with you. That is something that I tell my clients at the end of every intake session that I have with clients. I give them, not at the end, in the beginning, realistically, But in the beginning, I give them the roadmap of what the first initial assessment is going to look like. Like, we're going to talk about why you wanted to start therapy. We're going to talk about things that you're struggling with, maybe goals that you have that you want to work on. And then we're going to move to the type of therapist I am and the mode of therapy that I use. And if that doesn't jive with you, then please let me know. I will help you find somebody else, because I would much rather you find somebody who you connect with than try to placate my feelings and trying to stay with me if we're just not that fit, because I know that I'm not the therapist for everybody.
Yep.
So I love that you spoke to that, because that is such a huge thing. I think a lot of people think that you have to stay with this person, when in reality, our feelings about you and what you're going through don't matter. It matters how you feel with that person, and if you're getting what you need out of that interaction. We're providing a service. This isn't just like a friendship that you're having with somebody. I mean, sure, I think sometimes it eventually develops into that with the boundaries in place. Let me just be very clear about that.
Yeah.
Correct.
But still, like, it's very much so, I'm providing you a service, and I want you to get, like, you wouldn't go sometimes millennials are like, go to Starbucks, get your order fucked up, and you're like, thank you, this is so great, I love it. Like, but in reality, I want
It's
you
like,
to,
it'll be better next time.
right. No, it's good. I definitely order the hot chocolate instead of the Americano. Yes, thank you. Like,
I wanted it unsweetened, thanks.
yeah. I actually love black coffee, thank you. But like, looking at it like that, it's a service. You have to get what you're paying for, and we want you to get what you're paying for. We want you to get something out of it. So I love that you spoke to that. The next thing that's on my mind, unless you have something to add to that.
I just want to add one thing to add on it is, like, one big thing as well. It's like, don't be discouraged as well if you don't hit that nail the first time.
Yes.
And that happens a lot, where it's like, oh, like, well, I went to see a therapist and he just didn't click, so I'm not going to go anymore. And it's like, well, why don't you try the next one?
Right.
Well, and I usually
there's more out there.
Yeah, and I usually tell clients, like, the first session is awkward, right? Even if it's been
very
before,
awkward.
the first session is very awkward. You're like feeling like you're on the spot. You're talking about yourself. If that's not a comfortable situation, or if their personality just doesn't seem right, what I usually tell people is, like, give me 3 sessions. If after 3 sessions you're like, I fucking cannot stand working with her, let me know. I don't want you to feel like you're wasting your time. I absolutely do not want that. I don't want you to have a bad taste in your mouth about therapy. I want you to get enjoyment out of it, like Mari said. So that's kind of what I tell people too, because most people typically are nervous on the first one, and so they don't necessarily open up like they want to. You know, it takes time to build that kind of relationship.
Yep. I mean, I don't think I opened up fully, and probably at least until like a month or two in.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, like, you talk and it's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you this, but I can't tell you the whole thing.
Yes.
Literally, I cannot just co-sign that as much as possible. That I have so many clients are like, I wasn't going to tell you everything, but I have now. And I'm like, yes, I know. You don't understand. I will take it all. I will get it out of you. Don't you worry. I will slowly but surely drain you of your secrets. Like, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah, there's been so many times where I've walked out of my sessions. I'm like, I just told her that. Like, I can't believe I said that. And it's like,
I love that. I said that, but you did. So it is what it is.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. So the next thing that I want to ask, that this question was generated because we have a shame masterclass coming up, right? So masterclasses are where we host a 2-night, sometimes 3, depending on what it is, a 2-night special, event with Steph and I, where we teach certain things from dialectical behavioral therapy, which is the main mode of therapy that we use. So we are doing this first one for this year on shame, which is the most experienced emotion by humans, however, the least talked about. So I wanted to ask, how, as a man, then this is what I'm so excited for too, as a man, how does shame show up for you?
I feel shame, right? When you think of it, obviously one of the big things is like embarrassment, right? And not feeling prideful as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a man, a lot of it is ourselves, right? And it's we have this like self-doubt a lot, where it's like that machismo effect, where it's like I like the media, the culture, everything is, you're the man, you have to do this, you have to be up here. And it's like, if you're not living up to that potential, you feel like you're failing, and then you're shameful of yourself, and it's like, oh, I couldn't succeed at doing that. And it always relates back to, I always circle everything back to sports. And it's like with sports in general, it's like you want to be the best person on the field. You want to be the best of the best. And if you're not the best of the best right then and there, that messes with you yourself. And you're like, oh, I'm not the best. And you can just take that and you can try to become better. Or you can take that and wear down your shoulders for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And there's been lots of scenarios myself where it's just you want the outcome to be different, right? But the outcome itself necessarily isn't going to be that way, and you don't feel happy about it. So, and I think that's where shame itself, it beats you up more. And when you beat yourself up more, the only person you feel like you can make you happy is yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, then you're fighting a battle with yourself.
It's a vicious cycle for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a war you can't win.
Spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's, I mean, and I know, like, I mean, I relate back again. So I know you probably don't want me to talk about I Am Athlete. It's probably could be one of your competitors one day. But I Am Athlete used to talk about that a lot, where it's a lot, you have these high profile athletes who it's really breaking down. Like there's some times where they felt weak themselves. Yeah. And then shame comes to weakness, and it all relates back together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm listening to a book right now called It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad, and the foreword is by Russell Wilson. Trevor Moawad is a motivational speaker for a bunch of sports teams. Phenomenal book. I definitely recommend it for any of our male listeners. If there are men listening, this is a book that one of my clients, who is a very wonderful salesman in New York, definitely up at the top, recommended this book, loved it, and I'm listening to it now, and I definitely understand the pull to it, right? Lots of sports analogies, and he talks about neutral thinking, which is something that we talk about, find the neutrality in the day. So he talks about, so if the park or the pause, the stop is the negative, in order to go to the positive or the go, you have to go through neutral. And so finding these neutral thoughts. So he talks about finding neutral statements in the day to be able to keep you going, not necessarily something that is promising results or anything like that, but talking about neutral thinking. So in this, they talk about or break down the whole Nike slogan, just do it, and talk about how it's a neutral statement and talk about how it came to be. It's such an amazing book. So definitely, if you have time, super easy read on Audible too. It's like 3.5 hours. And so like everybody has some sort of commute to listen to it. So definitely go check it out. It takes what it takes. But I love that he talks about how shame, performance, this doubtful thinking, and how to turn that into just this neutral thinking, not necessarily, again, promising results, but getting you just to this homeostasis, which is so important, because in that homeostasis, then you're not fighting with yourself. There is no battle. It's just do.
Right. And one of the things as well, it's like I was doing a lot of research, because I come from a family of a lot of alcoholics, right? And it's like a lot of time it's people use alcohol and drugs just to escape that reality, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You escape that reality of not feeling who you were before. Yep. And that all relates back to, I mean, there's a lot of athletes itself where they're sitting there and they're, I mean, I just finished reading the book it was narrated by CC Sabathia, and pitcher for the Yankees, and he struggled a lot with alcoholism, and he would talk about how he was a weird alcoholic because he didn't want people to know he drank. So he went
a closeted one, sure.
Yeah, so he would go to after the Yankees won the Super Bowl. He did. I mean, Super Bowl. Sorry, you got me thinking. World Series.
I like that too.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well won that as well. But,
yeah.
They offered him champagne to celebrate, and he said, "No, I'm fine." And then he went back to his room and drank himself to sleep. And he didn't really know what it was. It was more the fact of escaping that reality. And I feel like a lot of people want to escape that reality itself, because it circles right back to that feeling of shame. And
absolutely,
it's like, that liquid courage itself, where it's, I mean, sometimes we need to lubricate ourselves inside as well to get some words out. But at the same time, it's all right. Are you trying to escape something, or just trying to get some self-confidence with that?
Oh, absolutely trying to escape. My favorite thing that Brene Brown talks about, Brene Brown is the GOAT. Can't wait till she's on this podcast, manifesting it, or a TED Talk or something, till she acknowledges me. I love her, but she talks about numbing out. You cannot numb out negative emotions without numbing out the positive emotions.
Yep.
There is no in between. You do not get to pick and choose what you get to experience in this life. There is a reason for those emotions, negative and or positive. Emotions are signals. They are nothing else. We and our thoughts give them the power that we think that they have this hold over our lives, when in reality they don't. It's just a signal in which direction we need to go, but in reality we then give it so much power, and then also societal pressures, and then taking on everybody else's opinion or expectations of us. So yeah, absolutely. But I love that quote by her. And is it her vulnerability or her shame TED Talk stuff? I think it's both, honestly.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's a lot of overlapping stuff in both of them.
It is, but she talks about you cannot can't have the good without the bad.
Yep.
Like you cannot numb out negative emotions and then still have positive ones. It's not how it works.
Correct. Yeah. And the thing is too, the more you carry on those negative emotions, you forget about the positive emotions as well. And it's like, hey, like I have all this shitty stuff going on right now. Yep. But you forget about, hey, but I have actually some good things going on right now.
Yeah, true. It's looking at it through like shitty colored glasses, right? Like when you carry that around and you're just like, everything is negative, everything is shit. Everything is going to seem like shit, regardless of even one good thing that happened. You're not going to recognize it. And that's also, a cognitive error of mental filtering, where you just focus on the bad. Because here's the thing, that's easier to do.
Correct.
Cognitive errors episode 2.0 is coming up next, just so everybody knows. PSA.
You're eating your microphone.
I know, but our consumers like that sometimes. When I get real fucking close, they like that.
This is not an ASMR podcast. Knock it off.
It shows the seriousness.
I just want everybody to know that. Go to bed. Yes. Okay. So there's a
that
little
leave button at?
Right. I'm fucking done. She weirds me out. Fucking Wisconsin is fucking off limits. Okay, there's one. I kind of want to switch around the two questions. So the next question I want to ask is, how do you address mental health stigma specifically for men?
I mean, kind of on a nutshell of everything we talked about. Myself, for example, I used to find myself really just trying to stay busy, right? And trying to forget about things.
Yep.
And it's like, it's the conversations that really happen, right? So it's okay to have that conversation with your boys, like talk about like things that are really bothering you. And that itself can break a barrier within the mental health stigma, where it's like, it's okay. Then it's kind of the generic saying it's okay to not be okay, but it's okay. I mean, you don't have to have a perfect day every day. You don't have to be the top of the class all the time. You don't have to be the fastest person on the field. It's really more of having that conversation with your buddies. Because we always talk about locker room talk, and it's like, oh, what are we talking about in the locker room? You're like, oh, I did this, I did that. I went this week and I drank all these beers. It's like, how about we talking about why? Like, what got you to that point? Like, what were you doing? Were you celebrating something? Like, oh, did you go out this weekend to celebrate and that's why you drank that much, or you went out to the bar, you went to get dinner, or what got you in that feeling? And having that will make definitely more comfortable conversations with yourself and being more accepting. And then I know that's one of the reasons, again, that I wanted to come up with this apparel, because it's everyone loves merch, and it's like, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna wear this on my chest. Like, when just walk around, like I wear this shirt and my misunderstood shirt and tomorrow needs you shirt all the time. Like, and people, I was actually in Orlando, Florida, wearing a t-shirt, and this guy just randomly stops me. I have my headphones on, I'm not even listening to him. He points at me, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I love your shirt. I'm like, oh, thanks. And then like, it didn't even resonate to me.
Sure.
Just like, yeah, all right. And like, I walked away. I was like, maybe he needed that today.
Right.
And him seeing a man wear it itself, where it's like, all right, like we're usually just wearing our Under Armour shirts, our Nike shirts, our favorite teams, or wearing that, not necessarily wearing a shirt about tomorrow needs you. And
sure.
It's always about just, what do I like? Like, do I like if I like the Yankees, if I like the Red Sox, I'm gonna wear that shirt. I'm not gonna wear a different shirt. So
I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think those conversations themselves and a lot more being more publicly open about it. And I've noticed now a lot more athletes and a lot more just public figures in general are just talking about, hey, I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, and I want to talk to you about it, and talking to your fans about it in general. I mean, we can talk in hours about Kanye West, but Kanye West has been kind of like a roller coaster of emotions where a lot of people point out like, you need help. And then he starts talking about why I did get help. It's like, oh, okay. So you're going this, and it's like, oh, you might take that and like, oh, maybe he's crying out through his music. Maybe he's doing it this way, and it's comfortable for him versus you have not comfortable to do it through a way that you can express it. So maybe he is expressing it through music. Maybe he's expressing it through his Instagram post. Maybe he's just bottling it up. And there's a lot of ways you can take it, but I feel like nowadays a lot of these public figures talking more about it has definitely made a lot more people comfortable more about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Social media has been a powerhouse for this. I mean, every day something new is discovered on social media. And it's like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And it's, how can we take that and make that a positive influence on everyone's life?
And let me play devil's advocate for a moment too, of what we just saw the past Sunday for the wide receiver on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Antonio Brown, of him having that moment where he left the field. And so I follow a bunch of different NFL meme pages, Packer page, all these different sports pages on social media. And like, so obviously when that news first broke and he was leaving, everyone was making these memes and these jokes and these things. And then it started coming to the point of like, oh, maybe he has that, I don't know what that injury. Yeah.
Oh,
so maybe he has that. Well, people started speculating, but here's the thing. They started bringing that up after you made all of these memes, after you poked fun at what this man was going through. And like, did he behave in the way that maybe was the most healthy for him in the moment? We don't know, because we don't know what was going on. We're not privy to what was happening.
Correct.
And then now, as things have started coming out, they were forcing him to play with an injury. Whether or not any of that is true, again, like, who knows? And I won't make a decision on either way because I'm not there. But I just felt like the hypocrisy of them making all of these memes and these jokes and these things and like saying, like, oh, he's having a temper tantrum, he's doing this, he's doing that. But then like 12 hours later, oh, he might have CTE, might have that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how quick are we to jump on people in social media just to make ourselves feel an ounce better? Like, do you feel better that you exploited this person who is obviously going through something? And Kanye West is not my favorite person, I will say that. However, I definitely think there was a lot of moments in his journey where he was, from my perspective, struggling with things that it was just exploited. And it's like, again, you paint him to be this bad person, but you have no idea what it's like to live his life or what it's like to be him. Oh my, don't get me started. We freed her. We freed her.
And then when you mentioned the CTE, it reminded me of Aaron Hernandez, right? Like, Aaron Hernandez was in the wrong, correct? But like, if you watch that fucking documentary, like, his brain was not okay.
It was not.
Literally. Who was the old player? It was like one of the guys who it was a white guy, and Cowboys is coming to mind, but I don't feel like he's was Aaron Hernandez Cowboys?
No, he's Patriots.
Okay, so I feel like it was maybe a Cowboys player, and it was like back in the 90s, and he was a white guy, and he killed his wife, and it was like in a parking lot. I watched a documentary on it, and it might have been part of the Aaron Rodgers, sorry, Packers on the brain all the time, just really excited.
Aaron.
Yeah, it might have been in Aaron Hernandez's documentary that they had talked about the very, like, he was one of the very first people that they studied with CTE. It was wild, like what happened.
And one of the other things as well you touched on, and it's like sometimes and it kind of goes back to the shame thing we're talking about, right? It's these not only athletes, but these public figures, whether it's a musician or artist, gymnast, football player, all around. I mean, a lot of people do not realize like the I guess the anxiety of going on that field, right? It's not just it's like, oh, they're professional athletes. I'm like, yeah, but you also have a billion eyes on you.
And
You
you're a fucking human being.
I was
you're
just gonna say that they're a human being.
literally, you're a human, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's you want to perform your best. You want to be the best you can. And a lot of times those things happen where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna like put a Band-Aid on it today and be okay with it. And then I know, especially with the fantasy football world, it's like a lot of people with Antonio Brown is like, oh man, you screwed my fantasy football team.
Because it's
like,
about you and your fucking fantasy football.
Right. You're made up fucking team, Bob.
And I get that that's important to people, but like, let's also take into consideration he's a fucking human with his own
He's a
shit
human.
going on.
Correct. And no one knows,
Wild.
no one's ever going to know what happens in that day.
No.
And maybe you might do a tell-all story and go and explain everything. But at that very moment, whatever happened to him that day, he's the one that had to deal with it. And he figured the best way to escape the situation was what he did.
Yeah.
Was to leave. Yeah.
And whether it was negative or positive, could he had handled it 1,000 different ways? Of course he could have. But that was his route of going at that moment, and felt that it was correct. So,
yeah. Okay. Any questions for us so far? Any thoughts?
not yet.
Okay. Good.
Emphasis on the yet.
Steph, do you want to ask the other question that I jumped?
I don't think that we skipped any.
Okay, I'll ask it.
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite color? No, I'm just kidding. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start their journey?
I did ask that.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it was the earlier one.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. Oh.
Now she's
Was
paused. Hold on,
question?
I'm gonna pause this for a second.
Literally, and I forgot. I meant for us to, as when we started, and on my end, his thing started lagging. I was like, oh shit, we forgot to tell him in case my internet goes. Anyways, whatever. So we paused it and we're back. And so, okay, then I think our questions are good stuff. Do you have other questions that might have popped up for you, stuff that you're thinking of?
Not that I can think of, because I feel like I asked them as he was talking if something did come up for me, but I feel like we basically covered all the bases that I wanted to talk about in the episode.
Yes.
Cool. I mean, I guess I want to flip a question on you guys.
Sure. Go for it.
And you asked, what advice would I give someone who's on their start? And what advice would you give basically a male in general of starting their mental health journey, coming from a woman's perspective, speaking to a male? I mean, it's I guess it would probably be a little different approach, but I'm interested to see your approach. I
love working with men. Mm-hmm. I have some of the dopest male clients. Not that my female clients aren't dope, right? But like, I've got this one client in particular. He is like my biggest cheerleader. He's like, I tell people all the time to fucking go to therapy because like, you're cool as shit. I love talking to you. Like, everybody should go, even if nothing is really wrong. Like, people just need to go to have some place to talk. Yeah. Yes. Like, I just want to have some place to talk about things. And I think, I don't know, we both have very different approaches to therapy. I'm not like an uptight, I can be professional, but I'm not like a stiff person, right? So I like it to be laid back, like we're having a conversation and getting to know one another and make them comfortable. I will talk about sports or like TV shows that we have in common just to kind of like break the ice and stuff. I find that offering men validation goes a really long way, right? Validating their experience, offering support, and just listening, especially because a lot of times the men that I work with, at least, don't talk about anything with anybody, whether it be friends or their partner. They just don't. They hold it all in because they're supposed to be strong. So when they come into my office and they tell me, for the past 6 years, I felt this way, and I'm like, that's got to be really fucking heavy. And then you can see a sense of relief on their face, right? Because they're like, wow, this is all I had to do was open my mouth and I can feel better. Does that make sense? Yeah. I feel like even when sometimes people don't have someone that comfortable to even talk to at home. Yeah. It's like, and it's like, you want to keep circling back to that shame thing where it's like, you want to be this figure, and you want to be this top person, and you don't want to show people like, hey, I mess up, I fuck up. Yeah. Or like, I'm sad. Like, yeah, I'm sad. Like, and it's like, and there's a lot of ways people express it differently, where it's like
and then it's like, oh, well, I don't feel like going, or like don't want to do something, or even just doing something that's totally out of their norm to make them feel okay. And like myself, for example, I find myself a lot of times with being I guess more of a trying to be a people pleaser, right? And it's like, all right, I'm doing this, this, and this because I don't want to piss this person off. And then within my journey in the last couple of years, it's like, well, at what point am I going to start trying not to piss myself off?
Good for you.
It's like, oh, do I, like, yeah, I love my friends, I love my peoples, but at the same time, it's like, I have to support myself as well. And if I don't feel comfortable about a situation, if I don't feel comfortable going to something, if I don't feel comfortable talking about something to one of my friends or hearing about something, let them know. And then that's one thing I've learned a lot about. It's like, don't hold it back. And
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's okay. It's like some people are scared to tell people things because they don't want to seem like an asshole. And it's like, it's not actually being an asshole. It's, you have to protect your own well-being.
Yeah.
And I'll be afraid of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, and like, that's probably one of the things I bring back Kanye West. It's like, that's one of the things I actually do like about him is when he went through his little journey where he was just like, I don't give a F right now. And he was just expressing himself on different routes, and like he was wearing his hair a different way. He was doing things different ways, and he was like tired of pleasing other people. And whether he was pleasing someone else, who knows? But that's how I felt when I saw that. So.
Sure. Do you approach therapy different with men, Mar?
I was gonna say, like, my first and foremost statement that I would want to say to men who are looking to start a journey in therapy is, you are needed. You are so welcome here. There is a place for you here. I understand that a lot of people have stigmas about mental health, of that, like, something has to be really wrong, or, you know, that's where women are like, oh, you're being too emotional or anything like that. But realistically, leave your expectations at the door and just give it a couple of sessions and see if it's for you. I definitely think I approach therapy different with men. I think I work better with men. When you guys were talking, I was trying to think of a better way to say this without it sounding like me saying that like women are too emotional, because I don't think women are too emotional. I think women feel emotions differently, right? And you're not
operate in emotion.
Yeah, we operate in this emotional mind. I'm not saying that men don't either, because anger is obviously still an emotion, like irritation or hostility is still an emotion.
Correct.
Not saying that all men are. However, I think that women take time to have this like reflective thought process on it. So sometimes when I say things, because I think I am a pretty frank, blunt therapist, that I think some women are like, taken a little aback by it. Whereas my guys are like, you know what? Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. I needed that, Mari. And I'm like, yeah. And I appreciate that about them. And I think most of the male clients that I see, I validate that for them, of like, I really enjoy this therapy process with you, because I feel like I am able to give exactly what I want to say and give to you straight, and you're able to take it, digest it, understand, and put it into practice. It is very much so methodical, like point A to point B thought process. Not saying that they always live there. But I love that approach of that I can just say what I need to say, and they're like, yeah, yes. Whereas I think women, we think on many different planes and many different fields. And so we can take it from the straightaway approach, but then also in the back of our mind, we're like, but did you mean this by it? What did you
I was just going to say, but then you overanalyze it and try to figure out every other angle that
like,
it
but also like, so realistically, I think that, I don't necessarily think I approach differently. I still do the same skills and tactics.
Yeah.
I just think I am maybe more straightforward.
Yeah. Well, it's also you hit something really there that you mentioned about like the listening part as well, and like kind of like, yeah, it's cool, and it's like, oh yeah, thanks, I needed that. You're like, oh, just respond. And one thing, it's, and I think we talked about how it's things to look for in like when you're approaching therapy, but one thing as well, it's you have to be able to listen, right? As well, to be a listener. And it's like, you can listen, like you can talk to me for 3 hours straight, and I can listen to you. And I can be just listening to just gain information from you, or I can be listening to really hear you, or I can also be listening to just respond to you.
Yep.
And if you're definitely if you're approaching therapy with the approach of listening to respond, or constantly, but why,
Yes,
but why,
yes.
it's you're not, and then maybe just me speaking on a personal level, it's like,
Nope.
so you're not going to solve it. Like, you're not going to be able to figure out why.
Yep.
You're
like,
not ready. Yeah, if you're gonna sit there and go back and forth, but why? Why is that like that? Or like, but like, no, you're not ready. You're not ready to hear them what we have to say, and that's okay. It's not necessarily a negative part, but it's just you're not ready.
But like, let me know that you're not ready.
Yeah,
right? Like that's how you're letting me know that you're not quite ready.
Yes.
It's almost like, I mean, it's like you're dating someone, right? It's
right.
like you're going on a date.
You're not ready.
Yeah, you're not ready. It's like you're like, oh, but it's like, well, why do I like you? Why is this? Why it's that? And it's like, if you date someone for the sole reason of to get an action out of it, you're not gonna be successful. But if you're willing to listen to them and actually get to know them and things like that, that's when you become most successful. And the same thing with therapy, where it's like, if you're willing to listen, it's like, yeah, but if you're like, all right, cool, I did my 3 sessions, am I good now? Like,
literally, oh my God.
Yes.
It's like, how long is this going to take?
Fucking hit on a heartstring right there.
Yes.
I expect this 5 to 6 sessions. Oh, okay, buddy. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've literally
See
had
in
clients.
6.
I've had clients that I've been seeing for 4 years.
Yeah.
And they're still progressing because we're always changing. We're always evolving. We're always growing. There's no shame in that, right? That doesn't mean I'm seeing them every single week for 4 years. We space it out. And then if life issues happen, they come back to being more regular. Otherwise, it's once a month for check-ins, once every 3 months. Like there doesn't need to be a timeline.
No, there isn't a timeline. You don't ever stop evolving as a human. Stagnant things perish. Let me say that again for those of you who are not listening. Stagnant things perish. You have to consistently keep moving forward and becoming a better version of yourself. You are in competition with no one but you. You have to continue down this path.
Yes.
Steph and I have not stopped working on ourselves because we feel like we hit some fucking holy entity. Like, no, I fucking yelled at my kid yesterday morning about socks. Like, I was like, there's no fucking socks on. Like, I picked her up and I was like, you know, that was such an inappropriate use of language. And also, you didn't deserve that in the morning getting ready for school. So I just want to let you know, I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. like we fucking go through this all the fucking time. Like, I had a couple of clients, one of my clients the other day, I see clients who are friends, and client were like, do you think Mari's kind of fucked up? You think something is going on with her? Do you think she has her own problems? And the one client was like, yes, obviously. And I was like, yes, I'm a fucking human. Yes, I go through shit. Yes, I deal with things. We all fucking do. The important part of it is that you fucking recognize it and you're like, okay, well, I got to do some work over here. Like, and you do the fucking work. There's no shame in that.
Yep.
Everybody's got something to work on. Welcome. Join the party.
And don't measure yourself on not achieving that goal.
Yep.
Like, if
Literally.
Like, you write something down in general. It's like, oh, I want to be this. I want to achieve this goal by September. And it's like, all right, if you don't achieve it, don't let that be the reason why you don't try to achieve it.
Right.
You just keep working.
Yes.
And it's like like you said, we evolve every day, and it's you're gonna take a different approach on it every day. I mean, when you drive somewhere, you're always thinking of a different way of how to get there quicker, right? Or what's gonna be the most efficient way to get there, instead of taking that same route every day. And that's how I feel like to approach life.
Yes. This was awesome.
It was fun.
This is so cool. Such a good experience for our first interview. I fucking love this. Ending on angel numbers too. 555. I'm so excited. I fucking love angel numbers. Oh, and it's the podcast, the fucking masterclass angel numbers.
Yes.
Guys, oh my God, we're manifesting. I'm so excited. Justin, I want to say thank you so much. So much for coming on and being able to discuss this with us and bringing such a awesome perspective from the male view of working on therapy, going to therapy, what it's like. I just think This was such a blessing, and I'm so excited for hopefully our male listeners. I was going to say viewers, also viewers potentially on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hey, to be able to have this experience and know that there's no shame, no stigma, no nothing surrounding this. Like one of my favorite Peloton instructors says, no ego amigo. So I'm so excited that you were able to come on and have this vulnerable conversation with us.
I definitely grateful for the invite. I think before we go out, we talk a little bit about the project we were thinking about doing together.
Sure. Yes. Do you want to start it, Justin?
Well, why don't you talk a little more about the actual background of it? I know you segued into a little bit before, but
I did, but I was like, are we talking about this today or are we not? I just gonna kind of bring it up. So
like, hey, someone pick it up.
I love the thought process, and I've said this for years in my sessions, and I know Steph is absolutely right here next to me with this because we're married, and this is where we fucking beeline it together. Yes. This finding neutrality in your thinking. We're not sitting here when we talk about, because we talk about goals and gratitudes a lot, right? Like it is something that we talk about pretty consistently on the podcast and in our Instagram stories and things like that. We talk about writing down our gratitudes and finding something that we can be grateful for in the day, right? That doesn't mean though that we're attempting to promote this like toxic positivity of like every day is wonderful. Like, no, it's not. Some days fucking suck. Here's the thing though, sitting here and expounding on the fact that you had a hard day and going into it, that those negative thoughts are just compounding on each other. So we're asking you to find the neutrality in the day. So the merch that we're going to have drop with Justin is going to be neutrality over negativity, or neutrality is greater than negativity. And we're so excited about this because this statement is so powerful. Again, find the neutral points in your day, or the neutral things that have made your day okay or bearable, or how can you take maybe the point that you struggled with the most and come out of it with neutral thinking, or how has it taught you something? That's the most important part about it.
Well, it goes back to like wise mind, right? We're not talking about going from completely negative to completely positive. Let's make a more well-balanced thought or statement from this kind of like shitty place that we're in. And that's pretty much what that symbolizes. Where did you decide we want to have our proceeds go to, Mari?
Oh, really? Is it going to go to?
I don't know. Is it, Justin?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's going to go to Write Love on Her Arms, which is a proceed, or not a proceed, an organization. Thank you. I can't even think of the words because I'm so excited. An organization that is so near and dear to my heart. I went on this road trip after my divorce with one of my amazing best friends. Another Steph. I'm just attracted to Stephs. I need them in my life. Steph. And we drove to Dover, Delaware to go to the Firefly Music Festival. And so at this booth at Firefly, because there was a bunch of merch booths, there was this booth that was to Write Love on Her Arms. And I was like, what the fuck is this about? And then, of course, being a therapist, it went into like self-harm. And I was like, oh my God, is this a booth about self-harm? What is this about? Like, I got nervous. But it was like, it was so good. They had all of these like little, probably the size of a double Post-it note, letters or notes, whatever, that you could write on in like inspirational quotes or messages that you wanted to send to people, and you could put them up. And so you could take them or you could leave one. And so I took one with me, and it was said, and I'm going to butcher it now, but it's in my office at Pathways, and I will put a picture of it I'll tag everybody in it and I'll put it on a story, but it said, everybody needs a Samwise to their Frodo to help carry the ring. So it was a reference to the Lord of the Ring trilogy, but also like talking about, I thought the heaviness of talking about this journey of carrying this weighted ring and the whole thing. I'm not going to go into the Lord of the Rings. We could be here forever, talk about Harry Potter and Twilight and all of it. But so it just talks about having that friend who's on this journey with you to be able to then release something that is so heavy to you. So they raise a bunch of money to be able to afford therapy sessions to people and to be able to provide these booths at these different concert venues or whatnot and hand out different things like supplies for people. They are phenomenal. I raised money for them for my birthday, I think in 2019. The 2 COVID years run together, so it makes it hard for me, but I'm pretty positive
it's one big year.
Yes, literally. Oh, it's so terrible. But
Yeah.
it was 2019. I raised money for them for my birthday. They are a phenomenal organization. And one of their slogans is "Tomorrow Needs You." And I love that slogan so much. So I'm so excited. The proceeds go to them.
Yes.
So you have to check out the merch that is coming out. Please, please, please support.
Justin, where can they
Yes.
find you?
So right now, so we actually just switched platforms to actually sell the shirts.
Yes.
But we had originally started another company, but now we're working with Bonfire. However, you can find the link to that on my Instagram page. The Instagram page is "My Therapist Is My Homie." So
Awesome.
it's spelled right out. It's soon you type in "My Therapist," usually it pops right up. So log on to Instagram, and that's just for now. We're eventually going to be evolving more, but right now we're about 2 to 3 months in, and next year hopefully we'll have all different type of platforms. So
I love it.
I'm so excited. So you can find Steph at SpookyFitMom13 on Instagram. I am at BEA_XO11. We are at Rewriting Her Story Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. We need subscribers. Please subscribe to us because you need to watch us. You guys wanted these videos and they are fucking fire. So check them out. You can email us any questions, concerns, comments that you may have. We would love, love, love to hear from you guys. And also, if you have any topics that you want covered on the podcast, we are open, guys. We record them literally ASAP and put them out. So anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Reach out to us. I have a special thing, Justin. I like to say bye in weird voices or funny sign-offs. And I was going to say, do you have any thoughts about how we should say goodbye today? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I did not.
Pressure, Mark.
That is a lot of pressure.
that is a lot of pressure.
Otherwise, I'm just going to shout into the microphone. So it's up to you. But we've done British accents. We've tried to do Australia accents. We did them no justice. We've signed off like Anchorman.
Like movie quotes. Yeah.
Yes, movie quotes. Any thoughts?
I have no thoughts, right? I wish I'd known this beforehand.
I know. But here's the thing. If you have one, just send it to us. But I literally thought of it when we were recording. I was like, oh, we have to do a funny sign off. But now it's just going to be awkward. And that's okay because that's funny too. Bye.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
There you go.
Bye, guys.